Hello and welcome to Workhorse Wrestling Network. You're gathered with us tonight for the Cookout podcast where we talk about what's cooking up in the world of professional wrestling. And tonight, we're actually talking about Hollywood.
Yes, sir. And we're gonna do something a little bit different. I mean, it's still a little wrestling related, but it's slightly out of the box. We're gonna talk about wrestling and movies and TV, wrestlers that have made the crossover to Hollywood, movies about wrestling, movies with wrestling in them, wrestlers in them, TV shows and stuff, about wrestling and with wrestlers in them. And then Sammy also mentioned talking about actors that have made their foray into professional wrestling. So there's quite a few avenues that we could take. First, I did want to touch on a couple. Anika should be here at some point, I do think. So I did want to real quick, just a couple of things I wanted to talk about. First is if you're new to the channel, if you're new to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button on this video, hit the bell to be notified. That's the best way to make sure that you get a notification every time we go live or put something on YouTube on this channel. So um, let's see. Did you see that Tony Khan got his deal to stay on TBS and EBTNT?
Uh, that's great for him. I did not hear about that. Um,
4 years, $170 million a year. I don't, whatever that works out to be. It's over 500. It's obviously what's that? Almost 800 million. So you figure 4 times 2 would be 8. So it's a little bit less than 800 million over 4 years. Seems pretty good. I mean, I would imagine that that's probably the best offer they got. I mean, otherwise, why would they not take a better offer if they got one, right? I mean, I suppose depending on what the difference is in money, if you're happy where you're at, you like the way things are, maybe it's not worth the
uh,
extra couple mil. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the
there's a
difference
sort of
might have been. I don't know.
loyalty to it that how they work with them, doing things together for cross exposure and like even if somebody pays more money, it's might just be you're on your own, do your thing, don't f up. But with them,
Yeah.
they work with them. And I think
Yeah.
that means a lot to Tony.
Yeah. Do you like I mean, the story said that there's going to be changes to the presentations of the shows. Um, I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means just aesthetic production presentation or like, the entrance ramps and that kind of stuff, or if it actually means some sort of like substantive changes to the shows themselves. Um,
Well,
are you happy with the way they've been on TNT and TBS?
it's the best wrestling show on TV.
But that doesn't really have anything to do with the location, right? I mean, not as far as on the TV dial, right? I mean, that just has
Oh,
to do with the fact that the company's good and it's booked well and those kind of things, right? I mean, or booked good for the most part.
um, I wish it was easier to access. Like, I bought a TV bundle and it doesn't include it. It doesn't include
Yeah,
any of the wrestling channels, which boggles
that's
my
that's
mind.
that's definitely unfortunate. Do you? So I would imagine. Listen, if I'm the owner of a network and I'm going to put AEW wrestling or WWE wrestling on the channel and I'm going to pay in excess of $500 million for several years, I would think. I mean, I would hope I would be smart enough to just stand out of the way, but I know myself. I'd probably want to try to have some input on at least what I thought, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that. And I wonder if some stations are more or less involved than others. And I wonder how the TBS and TNT structure is, as opposed to, say, the Fox structure or whatever. I mean, or the USA structure. Like,
I hate that, which is why USA is good with WWE because USA isn't so much of that. It's more, well, they used to be like in the 90s, but they're not anymore because they learned their lesson. And
yeah,
now they have the mindset of please do this, please do that. Not you can't do this, you can't do that.
right. Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's great for WWE. I mean, I think it's great for AEW. I apologize. I think it's great for AEW. They needed a new contract. I believe this other one, their existing one was coming up. So, obviously, I am not behind the scenes, so I have no idea what other options they potentially have. I'd love to know what other options were on the table, just for my own whatever curiosity, just to know. I like, for the most part, the presentation on TNT and TBS. I don't know how much is they're involved in it at all or not. If it would look the exact same on another station or not. Um, I for me personally, because TNT and TBS are still basically what I would call cable channels, and you kind of have to have, well, you definitely have to have like a Sling and or Direct TV or some sort of Xfinity, something, either a actual traditional satellite package of some sort, or your local cable, which you can still get, like Xfinity, or at least Xfinity streaming, to get those channels. And so, I mean, me personally, I mean, I wouldn't mind it being on some. I'm kind of happy that Raw's going to Netflix. I already have Netflix,
Hmm.
so I don't have to. To be fair, I'm not getting rid of anything because I like Peacock. So, and I think they're still going to do some stuff on there. So, but I could be wrong. I don't know. But either way, I mean, but I mean, I wouldn't necessarily mind it being on a streaming platform. I think it would be easier and a little bit more readily available than it is on TNT or TBS. But again, I mean, I don't know what percentage of people actually still have, some sort of a cable, traditional kind of cable package, whether it is the streaming version or the actual hard version, so that they have access to those. So I don't know. Um, but I'm glad they got the deal. AEW, I like AEW right now. It's my favorite wrestling company. So I'm glad, this means they're going to be around, at least a while longer. I mean, it shows their success. It continues to keep the ball rolling and moving and all those kind of things. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's all good. So, let's see. There was something else. Oh, I guess it happened tonight. Did you see that Randy Orton's next opponent is going to be your very own boy on NXT, Javon Evans?
That'll be good.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in that. I wonder. I'm assuming Randy's obviously coming down to NXT because I don't think they're bringing Javon. Well, they're not bringing him up for good. I suppose they could bring him up for just a feud, but my guess is they're bringing Randy down for the star power. I mean, I assume that looks like it's going to happen on the first or on the first episode on CW. I think that's what, October 1st or whatever, the first. I don't know what actual date it is in October, but it is that first date. Let's see. There was something else to do. Oh, you see, they're bringing back Saturday night's main event for one
Yeah,
night in December.
it's just one
Do
night.
you? Yeah, well, I mean, that's all it said so far. The article was interesting because the article said the series starts on December 14th, but then it said one night on December 14th and didn't mention any other airings. So, like, is it a series or is it just a one night? Like, it totally was unclear. But either way, as a kid of the '80s, which is when it was definitely at its peak, um, it was the big deal, right? Like, if you couldn't afford to get the pay-per-views, you prayed for Saturday night's main event because it was free and they always had something cool. It was like a free pay-per-view almost. And a lot of times, I mean, my family wasn't a wrestling family, so they didn't want to, and they weren't going to pay $25 or $30 for pay-per-views, especially
This
not multiple times a year.
this would be huge for Universal if it is, because like that means they have SmackDown on USA on Friday. They would then have this on Saturday, and then Sunday they would have pay-per-views on Peacock when pay-per-views are.
Yeah. Yep.
Like that would be huge for them. And then Monday Night Raw on Netflix, which you can pretty well watch at your own convenience.
Sure. Let's see. There was something else to do. There was one other thing here that I thought was interesting. Oh, you see, they signed Sheamus to an extension, so Sheamus is hanging around for longer. I mean, I didn't
An
necessarily think that
extension,
was
so not a
good.
new deal. Or
No, well, I mean, I don't know. Let's see what's it say. It says, Sheamus's contract was originally set to expire earlier this year, but additional months were added to the deal due to injury time. But now,
Hmm.
noting that the deal is now that the deal is indeed done for multiple years in length. So it doesn't say how long or how much or any of that, but it does look like Sheamus is hanging around in WWE. I mean, I'm happy to see that.
Usually, when they do this, the person leaves after.
That's right. There you go.
So we could be
Uh,
seeing Sheamus in AEW in a year's time.
I was just gonna say, if this was Wrestle Talk, we'd have the AEW or Sheamus to AEW confirmed banner going. Let's see, there was something else. There was a couple of things here. Oh, here we go.
I mean,
That's what I thought was
can you think
interesting.
of somebody who got the injury extension and stayed after?
That's a really good question. I don't honestly know. I'd have to. I don't remember stuff that well to know. Like, okay, they were out for injury and then they signed and then they do. Um, so that's a very good question that I don't actually have an answer to. I can't tell you that it looks like. Wait a sec. Is oh, it looks like Seth Rollins might be coming back at December 14th, Saturday Night Main Event. I guess they hinted that he might be coming back during that show. Are you ready for Seth to come back? I guess that's still a little ways off. That's almost 2 months off still. So,
I assume that
uh,
means we'll have Seth versus Gunther at the Royal Rumble.
oh, that's a good question. Do you want that? You want Seth versus
Sounds good to
Gunther?
me. They
Yeah,
teased the feud between the two a few months ago.
yeah.
Well, I mean that
And
was
you
that was half a year ago.
you like the feud, the idea of that feud?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. All right. So our main topic of the night is we are going to talk about wrestling and the movies or TV or Hollywood and wrestling, however you want to look at it. Um, and I think we just do kind of like an open general conversation. There are obviously the big, I'm going to say the big three that I can think of that crossed over. Well, big four, but I don't want to name them. I guess the first one to do it would be Terrence from Tampa, but really he didn't have near as successful a career as The Rock or Batista or John Cena has had in Hollywood, despite
no.
being Hollywood Hogan. Um, what were you gonna say?
Well, let's pick a name and start with them.
All right, who you want to start with? Tell
Uh,
me who you want to start with.
let's start with the number one person, The Rock.
So when you say number one, explain that definition in your mind. What makes him?
He's
Is he the number one actor? The number one?
highest
What? I
grossing.
mean, what? Okay. I mean, some of that. I think that's true, mostly
I mean,
because he's done significantly more movies than the other two. I mean, Cena's the next closest, and then Batista's a little right thereafter. But he's done. I
if
think
we're
did such
talking
a well.
about best, I would have said somebody else. We're not talking about
Sure.
best. Like he's
Even
not the best.
grossing
He
though.
makes the most money.
Yeah. I mean, right now, I mean, there was a rumor I would say about 6 months to a year ago that they said that The Rock is the highest paid actor in Hollywood at the moment.
Mhm.
So I don't know exactly what that looks like all the time. I'm assuming that that's somewhere, around the 20 plus $1 million a movie mark, because that's what I've heard other people making of that echelon at times when they were, up there. So, and I don't know what that means, that it could be higher because of inflation or who knows. But I mean, I know that that's roughly what some other people have made when they've been in that same position or called the same thing.
And he
Again, that
looks
doesn't always
bigger
good.
than ever.
He does. He's definitely big, which is interesting to contrast that Batista has
Taller
lost
than
like
ever.
75 pounds, 80
Hmm.
pounds, and he looks.
I think he
I,
said he hasn't weighed that since he was in like high school.
yeah, it's very interesting because like it almost doesn't look quite right. Like, it's weird. Like when you see somebody that's so big, and then at times it can almost make him look sickly. And I'm not saying he does, but like the weight loss with the added gray hair because he has age, it's like whoa, like holy, he looks a whole lot different. What's very interesting is that he said that at his highest weight, and he was ripped. So you got a 12 pack, 26-inch or 25-inch arms, and he weighed 370 pounds at his
Um,
highest. And I
well,
know
he also
muscles a
had a
lot
bit of
heavier
cushion
than that.
too in wrestling. It's always good to have a little cushion because when you take
Yeah,
big, like power bombs and everything else,
sure.
if you have a little cushion, it helps with the impact.
Right. It's interesting though because if you hear somebody weighs 370 pounds, you think, "Oh my god, that person's fat," right? But like then you see him, you go, "Oh shit!" Like, I mean, obviously muscle weighs so much more, is much heavier than
Hmm.
fat. But at the same time, it's like, whoa. I mean, looking at him, I would have never thought he weighed 370 pounds. Like, holy smokes! So yeah, I guess he said he was down to like 245 or something. So, or 240 or something right now. So.
But I think of all the wrestlers who have gone into acting, he is the best. If any one of them is going to win an Oscar, I think it's him.
Mhm. Um,
So I
I
wanted
don't
to
know.
talk about The Rock, but we ended up talking about Batista instead. Let's
Yeah,
just
well, we're
continue on
back on the Rock.
Batista.
I mean, no, we're back. I mean, we can go back to the Rock. We were just circling around. I was just mentioning because you said he was big, and then I wanted to mention Batista's weight loss. But yeah, no, I mean, the Rock is polarizing. Either in Hollywood, either you love him or you hate him. I think for the most part, and even the
Hmm.
people that seem to not hate him go and see his movies, either if it's because they want to critique it or maybe they're hoping it becomes, it's good. I'm not sure. Um, for me personally, I don't think he's as bad as other people seem to think he is. I really enjoy The Rock. Now, there are some movies where he definitely is the same character. You know what I mean? Where it's like
Hmm.
there's not, but there are some movies where I think he does really good. I mean, one of my favorite movies to this day, not because it's not even favorite Rock movies, but just one of my favorite movies ever in general is The Rundown with him and Stifler. I mean, that movie's fucking hysterical, and I thought The Rock was great in that. And I didn't think he was stiff or vapid or the same as he's been in other roles. I mean, I really enjoyed that. I thought that was one of his really better roles. Now, he's been in some other stuff that is questionable. I mean, what you call it was San Andreas wasn't very good. That left a lot to be desired. I mean, his biggest grossing films, even though they're not really rock films, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, are his foray into the Fast and the Furious franchise, the Hobbs and Shaw
Um,
stuff that has spun off of that, and then
I
it's
don't think
rolled
I've
into
seen San
movies.
Andreas. Is that the one where he had a white, blue-eyed daughter?
White, blue, and that I don't really remember. What I remember is that the San Andreas fault goes off from an earthquake, and he's a search and rescue guy, and his family's trapped, and he has to try to get to them to save them before they, end up in the rubble of the earthquake or whatever. So that's just basically what I remember about it. So he has to
Now,
play the
the
hero.
earliest I remember The Rock being in non wrestling things.
Mhm.
Now, like he did do quite a few movies in the early years, like he was in The Mummy too. But the first thing I remember
Mhm.
seeing him in was that '70s show where he played his dad,
That's true. He definitely did.
and he
He
wrestled
definitely.
Matt Hardy on the show,
This was one of his early roles as well as the Scorpion King.
Scorpion
You can see
King.
how young he actually looks there. But yes, he was. Yeah, he was great on the that '70s show as Soul Man Rocky Johnson. Um, and I here's the thing, like, and I now I've had a little bit different. I have a little bit different opinion of him because I know some of his politics and he's been able to keep behind whatever, and so now I have a slightly different opinion of him. But I think he's a decent actor. I mean, I don't, he's not the greatest, but there's a lot of people in Hollywood that aren't the greatest. I mean, there's a lot of people that get paid a lot of money and that, in my opinion, that aren't all that good. So, I mean, he's not any worse than a lot of those people. So, I mean, I don't know that I think he deserves to be the highest paid actor in Hollywood. That seems a little excessive, but when you sell tickets and, your movies gross what they gross, then I mean, I guess it is what it is. I mean, for me, still one of my favorite things that he did was Ballers on Showtime, HBO,
Mhm.
I think it was Showtime or HBO. Showed, and I enjoyed that. I mean, he played, an ex-football player who became a sports agent basically. And so, I mean, I don't, the role probably isn't too far off from, I'm not saying he's obviously not a sports agent, but just, he was able to probably be himself fairly for the most part because he's not playing really a character per se. So he's just being a regular person. So,
Uh,
um,
One thing about
Jungle,
me, I couldn't care about his politics. Like, I don't care about anybody's politics. Like, as long as they're not like breaking into people's homes or doing some crazy stuff to innocent people, like, people can do what they want.
yeah. I tend to agree. And then, I don't, I'm not going to get on any kind of soapbox or anything like that. But, when your ideology ultimately um when part of your ideology is for me or my people or my culture or whoever it is or people I know to not exist, then that I have a problem with. Then that's not just political. I mean, that's not just that's an issue that I have a problem with. And a lot of I'm trying to say this in the most PC way. A lot of um people on the right side of what we call center unfortunately do have some of that ideology. So, and I don't know where he stands per se, but um yeah.
The thing is that, like, 15 years ago, the left didn't have that at all, but I think the left might have that more now than the right does
What do you mean?
of that ideology.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, okay. Um so what else is there to say about what is the Rock? What do you think? Okay, so you haven't seen probably all of them. What's the best movie you've seen The Rock in?
The best.
Or which one did you enjoy him the most in, I guess?
Well, I don't want to say the rundown because you said the rundown.
I
Um,
mean, you could just say, "Hey, that's also my favorite Rock movie." I mean,
you
it's not
know,
like
it wasn't a good movie, but it's a movie I enjoy. Doom.
say it again.
Doom. It's
Doom.
it's not a
Yeah,
good movie, but it's a movie that I enjoy.
yeah. I mean, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, again, that's one of the ones that is probably a little lower in his catalog as far as if you're ranking them, but from best to worst. But um, yeah, I
It,
mean, it's
it,
probably
it,
slightly bottom heavy anyhow. So
it's stupid, but it's fun. And like,
yeah.
what more can you really ask for? All right.
Mhm. I mean,
So
hold on, just real quick before we move on, just one question. Do you think that I mean, you can't argue with making the switch, right? Like I mean, what the only thing that you miss, I think, between Hollywood and wrestling is the
interaction with
actual
the fans,
physic is the physical.
interaction with the fans.
Yeah. I mean, you still get the same admiration. I
It's
mean, you still get people on the street. You can't go anywhere. You can't do nothing. I mean, it's a
That's
little
true.
bit different because they're in the crowd and it's a little more structured. And so it is what it is. But like, I mean, I mean, I think he has more fans now as Dwayne Johnson, the actor, than he probably had as The Rock. I mean, I
Oh,
don't know.
oh.
And that's,
Um, so best movie. I think it's actually Moana. Now that
oh,
I
yeah.
thought about it, like that just popped in my brain.
It was like number 6 on his list of highest grossing films. So, and the first 5, I think, were all Fast and Furious / Hobbs and Shaw movies. So, um, and then Moana. So, yeah, no, which is funny because it's the one that all he does is provide the voice.
Hmm.
So, I guess that tells you, I guess, kind of what you need to know. My favorite is still not a Rock movie, but he was in a movie called Be Cool, where he played Vince Vaughn's bodyguard, gay bodyguard who wanted to be a singer, and he was absolutely amazing. I thought that. he played that role perfectly. And for me, that showed his ability to be diverse as an actor. Now, I think the problem is he either is accepting or doesn't get offered a whole lot of stuff that isn't, you know, action, you know what I'm saying? So probably, and maybe it's his choice to do those. I don't know, but whatever the case may be, that was my favorite role of his. So,
Uh,
um,
so let's finish talking about Batista now.
okay.
Guardians of the Galaxy is one of my favorite movies.
Oh,
Maybe
I spelled
maybe
his
my
name wrong,
favorite
but
movie.
maybe your favorite movie like of all time.
Yes,
Which one? The first one
the first
or
one.
like the
But they're
first
all
one?
good. They're all good. The first one's my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's possible that the Guardians of the Galaxy is my favorite Marvel franchise for sure. It's right up there with the Avengers movies, the actual Avengers ones. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would necessarily put it at the top of my list of favorite movies of all times, but it's definitely one of my favorite superhero movies, or I guess superhero movies of all time. Yeah,
Um,
I'm a huge fan of Guardians of the Galaxy, and obviously Drax was a great character. I mean, he was very, crucial member of the crew, crucial member of the movies and
I'm
cast, and
I'm not sure what the top five of the franchises for the MCU are, but Guardians of the Galaxy is in there, Avengers is in there, Spider Man's in there, and I'd say
yeah,
Captain America's in there. Whatever that fifth one is, I don't know. Like the first Iron Man movie is one of the best of all the MCU, but then like
mhm,
two and three happened, and two and three weren't nearly as good as the first one.
that's
So
very
I
true.
don't know who gets that fifth spot, but
Yeah, no, that's very true. I mean, I'd still probably give it, excuse me, to Iron Man, but at the same time, I mean, yeah, you're right. I don't honestly know. I mean, that fifth spot's probably up for grabs. I mean, depends. I mean, are we talking more than two? Because if you're talking two, I think
oh, I
the
think it
Black
has to be
Panther.
three.
Yeah, so then obviously that rules out a fair amount of them. So, um, but yeah, I mean, I this was the first thing I remember seeing him in. I don't know that it was the first thing he really acted in. I'm sure it wasn't, but it was the first thing I remember going, "Hey, look, there's Batista!" Like, holy, and I thought he did a great job as Drax. I mean, Drax is one of the better
Hmm.
characters in the movies, and I know that he's had a lot of success since. And I'm trying to think of other movies. He obviously hasn't had the level of success as far as leading man goes as much as The Rock
Oh
has.
yeah,
And I'm not sure if that is. I mean, it's not like
there's nothing
so
wrong
like
with being best supporting actor.
there definitely isn't. The only difference is that you're not getting, you know, you're
Not getting
you're
top
not
billing.
getting the yeah, you're not getting the same quite the same notoriety, right? Although I mean many actors and actresses have made their career on being best, leading or supporting men and women. So I mean it's and not necessarily being the lead role. Um he was in he's done some other stuff too. He was in a drama not too long ago where
He's
he
been
had
he's been in so many things. And the thing about him is I never felt like he's done a bad job. He's done a couple bad movies, but he never did a bad job in those movies.
yeah. I mean I think the contention is that The Rock has some movies where he was actually bad in them, which is possibly true. There are some movies that I do think that a lot of times it is the vehicle itself, but you can't have a bad movie with a really good performance, and you can't have a bad movie with a bad performance. So you can have a good script with a bad performance. So um, yeah, I mean, I don't have any problem with Batista. He's not necessarily my favorite, but at the same time, I don't have a problem with him. I think he definitely has. For me, he's better than John Cena. If we're gonna make the transition into the next biggest name probably from WWE, other than Terrence from Tampa, who did it in the 80s and the early 90s, and hasn't done it for a while
Now,
now.
here's the thing: is I think Dave Batista is the best, but John Cena might be my favorite. Like the movies he does are just outrageous. They're hilarious. He does roles that it's like, oh, I would never have expected that from John Cena, and like it's refreshing how out of the box he can go with himself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I definitely think it seems whereas even though Drax is fairly comedic in a lot of his one-liners, it's not necessarily a comedic movie or a comedic role. Where John Cena definitely seems to go out of his way to be in more of those kind of raunchier, kind of um, R-rated
Uh,
comedy movies. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's a casting thing. Like, obviously, he's getting casted. I don't know if they're calling him and
I
saying, "Hey,
I can
we saw
think
you."
of four off the top of my head. So he was in Daddy's Home uh, with Mark Wahlberg. He was in Trainwreck with Bill Hader. He was in Ricky Stenicki with Zac Efron,
Yep,
and he was in Blockers,
yep.
which I
Oh
think
yeah,
that he was probably like the star figure of that one.
right. Yeah, and obviously, his time as Peacemaker, so which everyone's very aware of, which I just showed the little clip of or the little picture of.
Like
So I mean, I think
those aren't really great movies, but like if you're just drinking and hanging out and want to have fun, like you got friends over and you just want to put something on while you hang out, like they're fine movies to pick, and you're
and
gonna
that's what I
do
wonder,
that.
I wonder about like I wonder, I mean, to a certain extent, actors obviously pick whatever they want to do, but you also either get offered something or you go and audition, right? So if you're getting offered something, I'm assuming that at this point, these three, at least Batista, The Rock, and John Cena, especially with their wrestling, history and name and notoriety, they're probably not auditioning a whole lot. They might do a screen test. They might have to come in and read just to prove that they can whatever. But my guess is that they get a fair amount of scripts given to them and roles offered to them, and they're like, okay, I want to do this one, I want to do that one. And if that's the case, it definitely seems like John Cena has a lane that he likes to do, which is fine. He's not going to hit the level of The Rock doing those kind of films. Um, but at the same time, I mean, if you're doing what makes you happy, I mean, he might be the one that seems to be having the most fun. That's just from an outward standpoint, just because the movies that he does are so whatever. But who can say?
I think it's a perfect trifecta. You So The Rock does action, John Cena does comedy, and Batista, he does the dramas, like the serious movies.
Yeah. I mean, The Rock has done some serious movies, whether they've been good or bad. You can debate that or not. But yes, I mean, I do think that Batista seems to want to take on more of those kind of roles. I think Batista seems to want to be learn the craft more. The Rock seems to just be happy with what he's doing, and Cena just seems to want to have a good time, which is all fine and dandy. I mean, all those things are great. I mean, I don't, um, I can be a little, I guess, prudish sometimes. So sometimes some of the John Cena stuff is a little and I definitely don't do the Peacemaker. I thought that was really stupid.
Oh,
So
it was so stupid, and I loved it because it was
uh,
stupid.
yeah, so I can't do that. So, but it is what it is. At the same time, I do think John Cena, is a good actor and has shown that he has ability and range. He's probably, I think out of those three that we talked about, um, Batista's probably the best actor. Cena's close behind him, and then The Rock's probably the worst of the three, just as far as actual on-camera ability. But again, I don't know how much of that is just casting and rolling, casting and roles and all that kind of stuff in movies and whatever. So it is what it is. I still, when The Rock puts out a new movie, I still go see it, or well, at least I did. We'll see now. Um, but so I don't know. I mean, I understand. I think it's interesting. It seems like so obviously. Terrence from Tampa did it first. He had no holds barred. He was Thunder Lips in Rocky. Um, he was what was he was Suburban. What was that movie? Suburban something that he was in. Um, and so he was kind of, at least in my opinion, the first one I really remember making the crossover and being in some Hollywood, I want to say, bigger pictures. Um, so I guess he paved the way, but then it didn't seem. I mean, there's other
Um,
isolated. Go ahead.
well, I wanted to say there were other guys during that time. You had Roddy Piper. He was in They Live, I
Hmm.
believe is the name of it,
Hmm.
which fantastic movie, definitely worth a watch.
I've never seen it.
You had Andre the Giant. He was in The Princess Bride, like
Yep,
one of the best movies ever made.
I agree with that.
And Jesse Ventura, who he was
Predator.
in Predator. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and he was in a couple other movies, Jesse too. I guess the difference for me between those guys is they're all worth mentioning, and those are all valid things. Is that obviously Terrence did more than one, and I think that's
Oh,
because he was so popular, right? So I mean, at the time, it just is what it is, right? Um, no Holds Barred was definitely I used to watch that movie. I'd watch it when it came on TV. Him and Zeus were awesome in that movie. Um, rest in peace, Zeus, Tiny
um,
Lister.
uh, during the era of The Rock, there were a lot of other wrestlers who went and did some acting, but they didn't have the pomp and circumstance that The Rock did towards it.
Right.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Hmm.
He made a couple action movies. Like
Hmm.
they're okay.
Yeah.
Um, you had Triple H do some, but like
No, I didn't see that. I didn't know Triple H did some. Are those WWE films or are they just
he was in The
actual?
Chaperone.
Oh, that's right. He was the chaperone. I forgot about that.
Um, all right. I'm gonna go a bit off topic now.
Go ahead.
All right. I'm gonna name some names that maybe people aren't aware of did movies. So The Longest Yard, you had the Great Khali and you had Bob Sapp,
Yeah.
which Bob Sapp is former New Japan heavyweight champion.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, there were other wrestlers in that movie besides just those two. But yeah, those were kind of some
uh,
of the ones that were lesser known.
Drew McIntyre is going to be in a new movie with Batista.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's coming out soon. Robert Roode, I believe, I don't know for sure. I didn't check the IMDb on it, but I believe he was one of the henchmen in the back of the truck of the Suicide Squad, starring John
Oh,
Cena.
interesting. I was
Um,
unaware of that as well.
you also get certain references in like TV shows, like Blackish. The boys put a hole in the wall, and the dad was getting onto them, and was like, "What possessed you to do this?" And they said that they were recreating the uh, Okada versus
It was
Tanahashi
Tanahashi.
match of
Yeah,
WrestleMania, not WrestleMania, Wrestle Kingdom
Wrestle Kingdom.
17.
Hmm.
I believe it was
Yeah,
17. I don't know. It's hard to keep track of the years.
yeah. I'm not even sure that they said what actual year it was. I think they might have just said it was Tanahashi versus Okada from Wrestle Kingdom or something like that. I don't know. But yeah,
Uh,
no, I mean, there's a lot of actual, references in pop culture to wrestling or to other shows. I mean,
And next, I'd like to talk about two different people. Both of their last names start with an A. I suppose we'll go with Arquette first. Arquette is an actor who came in, won the heavyweight championship, and he was in a movie, Ready to Rumble, which had people like Diamond Dallas Page.
so there's a lot of people out there that believe, and potentially is rightfully so. Um, I almost wonder if it wasn't intentional. Well, I mean, it was intentional, but it wasn't. If it wasn't intentional by Vince Russo, but that putting the belt on David Arquette, the WCW World Heavyweight Championship belt, was kind of the beginning of the end of WCW. That was like the icing on the cake. That at that point it was like, okay, this is obviously a joke, and the company is over. Whatever.
Well, I never saw it because my dad stopped watching like 6 months before that after the Finger Poke of Doom.
Hmm.
Like,
So
I never saw Arquette as the world champion. I missed it.
right, yeah. I
But
mean,
I loved him in the Scream movies.
yeah, and I mean, I assume you saw Ready to Rumble, which
Hmm.
is one of the more one of the better known wrestling movies. I guess it's actually a movie that's based all around wrestling. Him and his buddy want to be wrestlers, and there's a ton of wrestlers in that movie. So that's when I think about it. That's probably the biggest one. I mean, there's others out there for sure, but if you talk about like the wrestler, Randy the Ram, that wasn't necessarily all that feel good a story. And not necessarily that everything was feel good and Ready to Rumble, because there was definitely a lot of stuff that wasn't. And in its own comedic way, it did kind of shine a light on some of the issues that wrestlers have, as far as their lifestyles and all those kind of things. So it wasn't, but at the same time, it did it in a comedic way and in a fun way. So the movie itself is upbeat, whereas like the wrestler is not. So, and I'm trying to think. Um, Holds Barred is, it is what it is. That's really kind of an action film. I wouldn't necessarily call it a comedy. It's or a drama. It's really more an action film about wrestling. And then there's a lot of movies that aren't about professional wrestling, but are about Greco style Roman wrestling, which is interesting too. So they got a lot of good ones about that too. But that's a little
Uh,
bit different.
I think next up on the discussion block should be Stephen Amell, who came in and he wrestled. He's wrestled a few matches actually, and then he went on started the show Heels, where he plays a wrestler. And
Yes.
I was watching every episode of that. I'm so bummed that they canceled it. Like, I
Hmm.
would so much like for there to be at least one more season to close the story off.
I find it interesting. The fact is that there are tons of wrestling fans. You would think that a show like this would do better, or at least would, I don't know. I mean, I was surprised honestly that it didn't do better and didn't last longer. I think it was really well done. I thought it was well written and well produced.
Mhm.
I enjoyed it a lot. I
I
think
think
they
the
had a
writer
lot.
for it is the same writer who did the Loki TV show on Disney Plus, and
Oh,
people
okay.
say that that's the best of the MCU TV shows on there.
Right. Mhm.
So, like, dude's a great writer. I would definitely get him back for one more season. Like, just
So
one
I
more
noticed
season, close off the story.
Heels is going to be, I think it's just moved or came to Netflix. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's Netflix. I watch a lot of different streaming platforms, so bear with me if it's another one. But I just saw it's like, new here in September, Heels. And I think it's Netflix. And Netflix has a history of purchasing properties that had kind of run their gambit in other areas and taking them on themselves. Maybe that's something they might do something like that, maybe with Heels if they get enough, whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I loved the show. I thought it was great. I thought it was very well written. Stephen Amell, who obviously did have several matches in his life, real wrestling matches, knows what he's doing, and so it came off well. And I thought they did the drama part of it well. He's a good actor, and the other supporting cast I thought was good. So, yeah, no, I mean, I enjoyed it, and I am extremely disappointed that it went off the air.
I
Yeah,
felt that Hangman Page would be perfect in that series as well.
yeah, no,
Although
I mean, I
they
definitely.
decided to cast CM Punk. Speaking of CM Punk, he's done a few movies.
He has done a few movies. He was Randy. He was something Rabid Randy or Randy the Raby, something like that in the Heels. Whatever his character was, played like a white trashy guy. Who was, I think Rabies was his gimmick
Yeah,
or something. Randy
I think it
Rabies
was
or something.
rabies.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen. The reality is that, and especially in WWE, if you're classifying yourself or working as a sports entertainer, but all of wrestling, if not 50%, more than 50% of it is some sort of acting, right? Either your promotions, your whatever it is, all up through your body language in the ring. I mean, all that stuff is acting. So there's a natural transition there, and it seems like, it doesn't surprise me that many of these people that are high quality wrestlers are also, successful actors, or at least decent enough, to be successful in some way. It doesn't seem like there's that much of a difference other than the athletic component. Now, to be fair, wrestling itself isn't really high quality or high art. You're not going to get, you know, uh, award-winning, Oscar-winning actors in the ring usually. So, or doing, wrestling storylines. So, it is what it is. At the same time, just the ability to act and do those things, there is kind of a natural transition there. So,
So I got a few more names.
yeah,
Randy Savage. He was in the
yeah.
first Spider-Man movie.
He was. He definitely was. He wrestled Spider-Man when Spider-Man before he had. That's where he got the name Spider-Man, basically,
Mhm.
or how he came up with the Spider-Man name in the Tobey Maguire. Was that Spider-Man 1? Yeah, so in the first Spider-Man movie.
Um,
So
although they have that one joke that like people say, "Oh, that aged so poorly," where he says, "Cute outfit. Did your husband make it for you?"
yeah, there's a lot of stuff that ages poorly, unfortunately. I mean, I mean, some of that is all in just how we perceive things, and I mean, the new cancel culture and those kind of things. Now, to be fair, I mean, do I think that we're a little sensitive at the moment? I do. At the same time, that doesn't mean we're wrong. That doesn't mean those people are wrong. It just means you're being a little oversensitive. You're 100% right. Those things are inappropriate. They shouldn't be said. But at the same time, I don't know. Come on, like lighten up a little bit too, So I don't know. I
Um,
get it. And at the same time, it is what it is. So.
a few more names of people. Big Show. He was in The Water Boy.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. That's right.
Um,
Adam Sandler is a sports fanatic, and wrestling is one of those things. And I mean, that he was in The Longest Yard, and there were several wrestlers in that movie.
mhm.
So
um, we had Bill Goldberg do some stuff, but I don't think I ever watched any of them. I know that they
he was in
exist.
The Longest Yard as well.
Oh, he was. Okay, so I did
He
watch at
was.
least one. All right.
So he was another one of the guys. There was, I think, 5 or 6 wrestlers in The Longest Yard, and he was one of them. So, um,
Uh, Kane. Oh well, we should talk about him later. I got two names to talk about first.
okay,
Chris Jericho.
okay,
He's been here and there in some stuff. He was in like a Kevin Smith movie, and like he's not a great actor, but like he has some success because of his popularity as a wrestler. And
yeah. And separate from that, I mean, you could talk about entertainment in general. I mean, he's been the front man for Fozzy and that band for a
mhm,
long time touring. So, I mean, it's not acting per se, but it's still entertaining and it's still celebrity and being in show business and that kind of stuff. It's a different kind of crossover, but it's still a crossover. Um, and I'm trying to think. I mean, he might be the one that's the most successful, honestly. I mean, who else has crossed over into the world of music? There have been some guys. I think R Truth might have put out a hip hop album at some point. I'm not
um,
totally sure, but
uh, there's a dude named Tom McDonald.
I know who Tom McDonald is. But I didn't know he's a wrestler. He's a
He
wrestler.
used to be a wrestler, yeah.
I know who he is. I can't stand the guy, but um, I didn't realize he used to be a wrestler.
Yeah. Uh,
So
I'd say he's probably had the most success in going from wrestling to music.
interesting.
Um,
Interesting. Yeah, it seems like there's a lot less of that than there is into acting.
yeah.
So
I got a name for you. Nathan Jones. You probably don't remember him as a wrestler at all, but he's
The
the one
name
who
doesn't ring a
like
bell
went
at
from
all.
like struggling wrestler to successful action actor.
Yeah, the name doesn't ring a bell at all.
Um,
Who was he as a wrestler? What was his wrestling name? Was he Nathan Jones?
Hold on, let me pull it up. Du-du-du-du.
Like, what's he been in so he acts?
Nathaniel Statham.
Yeah, that doesn't ring a bell. And he acts under the name
Uh,
Nathan Jones.
he was only a wrestler between 2002 and 2003 on SmackDown.
Interesting.
Um,
Interesting.
so it looks like his first movie he was a Jackie Chan movie called First Strike. Uh,
Hmm.
he was in the movie Troy with Brad Pitt. In the
Yeah.
beginning of the movie, where Brad Pitt has a one-on-one fight, it was against him.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um,
Interesting.
he was in Mad Max Fury Road. He was in the new Mortal Kombat movie. Um,
Okay.
like
Interesting. So he's been in a lot of stuff.
he's a much more successful actor than he ever was a wrestler. I think he was also
Interesting.
in a Jet Li movie.
He's
Uh,
probably one of those guys. If I saw his face, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I know who that is," but I don't recognize the name. Like I don't.
you want me to show you a picture?
If you want, I mean, if we could. Yeah. See, I can't really between the green screen. Oh yeah, yeah. You can kind of see him. Oh yeah, I know who he is. Yep. Yeah, I've seen that dude's face before.
He was only
So
a wrestler for a year. Um, another name, Adam Copeland. He does the Viking TV series. He's also in the Percy Jackson TV series on Disney Plus. Like,
uh, Edge.
yeah, Edge.
Oh, I did not know that. I was unaware of that.
All right.
I was unaware.
And so next, I think we should talk about the WWE films.
That's just what I was going to do. I wanted to talk about just the first of all, the concept of a wrestling company even branching into films and then some of their actual films. So, when they first did it, it seemed a little odd to me. I was like, WWE's doing movies. And at the same time, like, you're already basically doing cinema to a certain extent with your wrestling shows. So,
Well,
I guess.
the first time they did it, it was with Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Condemned,
Hmm.
which saw pretty solid movie. And then they moved on to John Cena with The Marine.
I thought See No Evil with Kane was
Oh,
before
was that
the
second?
Marine.
Oh,
Was
okay.
that?
So See No Evil with Kane, and he
I
also
could be
did See
wrong,
No
but
Evil
I
2.
thought so.
I thought The Marine was next. And then you have The Marine.
Hmm.
They did movies with The Miz doing The Marine as well.
Yeah, they did like the Marine, 4 through 25 with the Miz playing that character. So
Randy Orton did some movies with them.
none of the Marine movies reached the height of the original with John Cena.
And the piece de resistance, the best movie they ever did was the story of Paige,
Fighting with My Family.
Fighting with My Family. I think that was the best WWE film that they ever made.
I was unaware that was even a WWE film.
Uh, yeah, made by WWE Films.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. It was good.
And
I enjoyed that.
yeah, very good. It's the best movie they ever made. And the last actor I can think of is Kevin Nash.
And what? I don't remember what he was in.
He was in The Punisher,
Oh, that's right.
the
That's
red and
correct.
white stripe thing, and apparently
That's
he
right.
actually got stabbed. They didn't use the gimmick knife; they used the real one, and he finished the scene anyways.
Sweet. I did not know that. That's awesome. Sweet. Yeah. Yeah. No, I forgot about the fact that he was in the Punisher. Yeah, no, I think there's been a long, litany of people that have both come and gone, wrestlers that have made the move over and actors that have come into wrestling. Mercedes Monet was on The Mandalorian for a few
Hmm.
episodes. There's been a lot of actors, there are a lot of wrestlers that have made cameo appearances in movies and
Oh,
stuff.
Ronda Rousey.
What was she in?
She was in the Expendables.
Oh,
She was
that's right.
most, yeah.
You're right.
She's been in a few things.
She was in the Expendables. That's right. I forgot. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on anything else that she's been in, but um, no, I mean, there's definitely a long litany. I mean, and you can see why. I mean, the crossover, like I said, you have to be a pretty decent actor to be a really good wrestler, and so it feels like a natural fit too. And then you don't have to take bumps, right? You're not getting thrown into announce tables or hitting with chairs or whatever the case may be. Depending on what kind of movies you're doing, of course, and if you're doing your own stunts or not. I don't know. I mean, what do you think? You think The Rock does his own stunts? I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that or not. I mean, I have no idea.
I
He
would
seems
assume so.
seems like the kind of guy that would want to, but at the same time, like I don't know. Like who knows? I don't
Like
know.
I feel like that's like an itch that like wrestlers have that they can't get rid of where like I want to take a bump, let me do it.
Yeah. Do you think that um there's definitely been more guys, more men and women going from wrestling to Hollywood than from Hollywood to wrestling? Is
Definitely.
there
We could only think
is
of
there
two names.
is there anybody? I was just gonna say, are there any names right now you could think of in Hollywood that would seem like a good fit to be a wrestler?
Well, before we get into that, I would like to say that it's kind of confusing with The Miz because he started off as a reality TV star.
He did.
Actually, so did Darby Allin. He was a skateboarder and a reality TV star, and then he got into wrestling.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, no, and I mean the Miz, I mean, he definitely, his I wouldn't necessarily say so much Darby Allen, but definitely Miz's um best asset is his time, his ability on the microphone and in front of the camera. Like he's not necessarily the most athletic wrestler. His move set isn't necessarily the greatest, but his talking and his personality, his acting is definitely his strongest asset. So, and so I mean that doesn't surprise me that although he wasn't all that great on the real world. So I mean, to be fair, he was like 19 or 20. So I mean, it is what it is, and I think it was the very first thing he'd ever done. So, and it's reality TV, right? I mean, well, we can debate that. I mean, there's a lot of scripted reality TV or unreality reality TV, so we can debate how scripted or unscripted Road Rules was. But no, I mean, I think that helped him for sure. I think seeing how or trying to be an actor or coming from at least some sort of an acting background really helped him Miz because I do think that his talking and his his work in front of the camera when he's not wrestling are his best assets as a wrestler. So
Another
uh,
person who, so I thought of the inverse of the question you asked. I thought
yeah,
of a wrestler who should do movies, and that's our truth.
yeah.
Our
So
truth.
welcome, Anika. We've been
Hello.
talking now for a little while about. We touched on a couple things. One is that AEW signed their new deal to stay on TBS and TNT 4 years. So
Okay.
that, yeah. So you got anything you want to say about that? Do you like them on TNT and TBS? I mean, obviously we haven't seen them anywhere else, so we don't know
Right.
what it would look like. But like,
As of right now, I don't see anything wrong with the state. There. Yeah, nothing traumatic happened on TBS or TNT where it's like I need to move. No. So very happy that this deal's finally done. So we can get to the storylines that are more streamlined. Cause it does feel like it was like, let's do some hot stuff on television and then worry about it later. And it's like, no, I know we're in negotiation mode, but let's please stick to some kind of script. So hopefully now they nip that in the bud, we can get back to business as usual.
So,
agreed.
actors who should be wrestlers. Well, if you were asking me a decade ago, I probably would have said Joe Manganiello. but he's like almost 50 now, so probably
Yeah,
not him.
yeah.
Um,
But no, he's one of those guys that has that natural kind of. He's a big dude, so I can see that. I mean,
so honestly, I think that there's two names, and only two names:
okay.
Jason Momoa and Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, interesting,
I
interesting, interesting.
I think that
So,
they
so
have likable enough personalities that like they have no problem with the fan interactions, and they're athletic. Like I feel like either of them would do well. The only problem I see is Jason Momoa looks quite a bit like Roman Reigns.
so um to be fair, I mean, whether you liked it or hated it, whether it was what it was, the fact that David Arquette came in and was somewhat successful shows you that it doesn't necessarily have to just be that there's definitely more than two people out there that could do that right now in Hollywood.
Right.
Um,
Oh, have you seen You Cannot Kill David Arquette?
no, I have not seen that.
Oh yeah, it's about when he went on like a 2 year stint of wanting to like do right by wrestling fans and like actually take it seriously and come back after he was already old and had heart problems, and he had a death match with Nick Gage. And
I heard of this, but I didn't know he actually made a documentary about it. I know he was home. I know he wanted to come back and say, "I want to do a nice run, a wrestling run," but I didn't think he actually filmed it and actually did a movie about it.
and he also had a match with the dude who does Hey EW,
Ooh,
Yeah,
RJ
RJ
City.
RJ
City.
City, RJ City.
That was like his first like big match was David Arquette versus RJ City.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at action guys, I mean, there was probably a time where, maybe a Sylvester Stallone could have maybe done some wrestling. I mean, he's one of the guys that might have come to
Um,
mind.
yeah,
But
during the era where Hulk Hogan was in Rocky, yeah,
no,
Sylvester
no.
Stallone could have came in and wrestled a match.
Oh no,
But
no,
Mm,
here. He said Sylvester Stallone. I'm thinking Arnold Schwarzenegger, but even
Yeah,
like no. If y'all not remember Arnold Schwarzenegger taking a swing at this man before the Armageddon peer view, and it looks so freaking not say stiff, but it's like, sir, I don't know who taught you how to swing, how to throw this punch, but stop
uh,
it, just stop it.
um, the person who would have made the best wrestler, and if they had became a wrestler, they would probably be in the history books as one of the greatest of all times. Dolph Lundgren. If he had became a wrestler, he would have been one of the best wrestlers.
maybe. I mean, it would have been interesting to see what he would have been like as a wrestler. Ivan Drago. Uh, what about you, Nika? Is there anybody in Hollywood right now that you think would be a natural to go into wrestling?
It's very hard to say because wrestling is so wonderfully weird and unique, right? Where it's like it's not just athleticism, it's not just it's a combination of athleticism, a little bit of acting. I'm gonna say a lot, but a little bit of acting. Um, as of right now, I don't. And that's like I said, because it's such a unique form of entertainment. And I'm like, nope, I don't. Yeah, I don't really see anyone where I'm like, okay, you would be. I would love to see you in the ring. I don't.
Yeah, no, I mean there isn't. There until you see him, like until you actually see, say, a Stephen Amell or, somebody else. There have been several that have come in and done it. You don't really. It's hard to think of them and look at them and go, yeah. But I
You
mean,
got it.
like Sammy said, Jason Momoa seems like he'd probably be a decent fit. There are some other guys out there, some big actors, and that seem like they would be, some natural fits. But what about other wrestlers that you think would be great in Hollywood,
I
Miss
actually thought
Anika?
of another actor,
Oh, go ahead. Give us another actor.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah, Tom Hardy might be good. I can see
I
that.
mean, he's as old as Joe Manganiello, though, so it's like it would have been better 10 years ago, back when he was like Bane. But
And then
I
more
can see
so,
that.
it's like I love the act. I actually like Dolph. I like the Dolph Lundgren answer more than all of them. So I'm like,
mhm.
oh, okay, I can see that.
Him as a
And
wrestler in the '80s, like
definitely wrestler in the '80s, and I feel like
What about
everyone else, the hits would like they wouldn't know how to not actually hit someone hard. Where it's like, bruh, what is wrong with you? It went so
did
many
you
times where it's like, bruh.
did you hear the story about him and Sylvester Stallone when they were filming Rocky?
No.
no?
So, like, Sylvester Stallone said, you can just hit me, just seriously hit me. And Dolph Lundgren was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I will hurt you. And it's like, dude, I'm a big man. I'll be fine. One
Yeah,
punch, and Sylvester Stallone had to go to the hospital for cracked ribs, I think.
yeah, that's dumb. It's, but I digress. Um,
Uh,
if
So he knew
anyone,
how to fake a punch, and he was really good at it.
oh,
Because if he
that's why I
actually
said.
hit you, you'd go to the hospital.
Uh, that's why I said Dolph Lundgren. I actually do like that answer. Um,
If we can go in the Wayback Machine.
in the Wayback Machine.
but like someone wrestling that you said should be an actor.
Well, it could be that you think seems like a natural. We've obviously seen it go a lot more from wrestling to Hollywood than from Hollywood to wrestling, obviously, and I understandably why. I mean, but at the
Like
same time, is there anybody right now that you're like, oh yeah,
if anyone hasn't said it, Joe Henry.
no, no, I haven't said that.
I would love to see him do a role. Like I think that would be hilarious, interesting, all at the same time. Probably would take me a minute to get into. I'm like, oh snap, he actually pretty good. Let me. I'm actually focused on the movie.
But my answer for it has to be R-Truth. Like him being a comedy actor, like that just like makes the world of sense to me. Like
Yeah,
him
no, I mean,
being in a movie with John Cena, like those two would be comedy gold together.
they would be very funny together. I think Archer's is definitely has a natural comedic flair to him, and he does definitely that's where his seems to thrive. That's his lane. So it's a little offbeat comedy. It's not necessarily whatever, but it's funny. I mean he's funny. So I mean I like I said I think there's a natural. Wrestlers have to do a fair amount of acting, so it seems natural that that's. And again, you can go do basically what you do, but without having to get punched in the face or take a bump. So, um, who,
Okay,
Adika, we talked about all the big names, but who is your favorite wrestler to become an actor?
so like I don't need a list because I didn't make one. But real
Yep.
quick, so I'll throw out this actress that could be a wrestler if we're going to do the Wayback Machine. Jessica
Yeah.
Alba.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see her be a Divas champion. I think she could have. I think she could really do that, and that would be really cute.
Yeah.
Her versus Kelly Kelly or her versus Tori Wilson. I mean, yeah.
I'm just unsure about her personality for it.
What about like a Hugh Jackman Wolverine?
Uh, now remember, like he's had some spots in WWE, but he would need to have a character like him
Uh,
as himself. No, but give him a character maybe.
I think he'd basically be Bobby Roode before Bobby Roode.
No, oh,
Yeah.
he's too
Coming out in
happy.
the robe, the showmanship, the lights, raising up like it's a musical or whatever. Like yeah, that's definitely Hugh Jackman.
But yeah,
Yeah.
like
I can
he's too
definitely see that.
happy. He always smiling. He's too happy to be a wrestler.
He's too happy to be a wrestler.
But
Uh,
I don't think Jessica Alba's personality would work because I think she's a really goody two shoes, and wrestling fans usually hate you for that, and I don't think she could handle everyone hating her for being a nice person.
Now, see, but here's the thing. So character wise, I remember when she did the action series. It wasn't Fallen. Was it Fallen Angel? What was that one here?
I don't. Yeah, I'm not. I don't remember.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, no, she did a TV show. Hold on here. Yeah, Dark Angel. It was only for 2 seasons, but she was like basically an assassin chick. And then, well, see, that should have been good. Sorry, I'm going through rabbit hole. But then it was something in 2019, 2020, LA's finest when she was a cop. So she has not always been a goody two shoes. You best believe that. And I think she has what it takes. Yeah. All right. And if you remember, she was a mean girl in Never Been Kissed with Drew Barrymore. And that was probably the best teen movie of the 90s. Let's just put that out there. Okay. Best wrestler who turned into an actor. So, kind of short and sweet. Batista's really putting his foot in it. Like he's really trying to like he did the interview with Chris Van Vliet, and he's like he wants an Oscar. I'm like, he's really going for it. Like he is really like, I ain't gonna say die trying, but it's gonna be argued. If he's gonna have that role where it's like arguably he should have won that. I truly believe that. And of course, Guardians of the Galaxy. You think it's a simple role, but it's not. It's not a simple role.
If any of the wrestlers are gonna win an Oscar, it's gonna be him, Best Supporting Actor. Like, The Rock has no chance of winning that because he never plays a supporting actor. And let's face it, winning the Best Actor is way harder than Best Supporting Actor, I'd feel.
Oh yeah,
Rock has a better opportunity of being in a film that is named Best Picture than he does of being named Best Actor for a movie.
And more so, giving creative control to someone else. I feel like The Rock has not done that yet, where he's like, I'm just going to be an actor and don't have any, what you call it. Maybe like the first 2 movies, he's like, all right, let me learn what I need to learn. But like right now, him just giving creative control to a director, to producers, I don't see that happening anytime soon. And you don't have, and so like it's nice if you can do all things, but to win the Oscar, I think you have to focus on strictly acting. And yeah, I don't
Did you watch Young Rock?
Huh?
Did you watch Young Rock on Peacock?
Listen. I laughed so hard with this one episode where he's in college and his friend gives him a job where they're checking phone booths at the college campus, but he's like, don't worry, you don't have to check them. They're not going to check up on us. And the one day they had to check up on them. They're doing a full on action movie. We're in a golf cart going toe to toe. And then he runs through the classroom and the teacher asks him, young man, who are you? He's going to yell back, Warren Sapp. It's like, shut up. I'm like, you know what? Shut up. This is too stupid. I don't like y'all.
No, I did watch that show. I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was. I thought it was all right.
Good.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I thought it was funny. I mean,
The only thing was like, again, I'm not sure who wrote it, but trying to expand it from young Rock to being a wrestler, where it's like how long can we stretch this out before I'm actually pro wrestler? And you see, like, I think season 3 is like, okay, I'm a wrestler now. That's probably the hardest part of it, was trying to stretch out his life to
because he started wrestling so young. I mean,
for all intents and
purposes,
maybe 1 or 2 years of college, and he hurt his leg, and then turned to wrestling. But it was fun. It was definitely a if you're not watching Friday Night's Fights, nice little NBC.
Quite a few wrestlers came through from football.
Yes. Oh yeah, lots of wrestlers from football.
Oh,
we might have to do an episode about that.
Yeah, that'd be
I
fun.
wouldn't mind that.
The best NFL player turned wrestler.
And the best appearances from NFL players to wrestling.
Who would actually, what you call it, if they didn't get hurt, who would be more profitable to win Super Bowl? If they didn't get hurt. All right, all right. Fast forward. Moving on.
What? We touched on basically everything because we've been here for like an hour, so I'm just kind of going back, get your opinion on stuff. What's your favorite wrestling movie?
A movie about wrestling.
Yeah, or where the main focus is essentially wrestling, i.e., Ready to Rumble or The Wrestler, or something like that.
I haven't think I've seen any wrestling movies. That's insane. I don't.
You haven't seen Ready to Rumble?
I heard of it, did not watch it.
Okay.
I just thought of two more people. I own a movie called Cage Fighter, I believe.
Okay.
And it's starring John Moxley and featuring Jay Resso, a.k.a. Christian Cage.
Ah, interesting. Interesting. Big surprise. Feels like a far leap, Cage Fighter for Moxley and Christian. I mean,
well, you want me to tell you about the movie?
I mean, you can if you want to.
Okay, so there's a professional MMA fighter, and they decide to do this challenge thing. How you remember when Floyd Money Mayweather fought Conor McGregor? It's like, this is going to be good money. Well, they do that, but with a professional wrestler, and the professional wrestler is John Moxley.
Oh, okay.
And then John Moxley, enters into the cage fight and then beats him handedly. And it's like, oh, shoot, what do we do now? A professional wrestling's the MMA world champion.
Right. Yeah.
And Jay Resso, Christian Cage, plays like a MMA podcaster sort of thing, like interviewing the stars and stuff. Like,
interesting.
Christian Cage was really good in that movie and made me think he needs to be in more movies.
Yeah.
This was before he went into AEW.
Did I already ask you if there were any wrestlers that you thought would be a good fit in Hollywood? I think I already asked you that, Mika.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And daggone it.
So my favorite movie about wrestling would probably be Fighting with My Family.
Did you see that, Anika? The Page movie?
No.
No.
I'm kind of upset with myself. I'm like, daggone it. I didn't see the closest I've gotten is Scooby-Doo.
And the WrestleMania episode.
That's WrestleMania mystery. And that's because of my niece. And low-key wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. If you're a Scooby-Doo fan, it's a nice Saturday morning movie.
There's a fair amount of Scooby-Doo wrestling crossover. But there's like 4 or 5 they've done. Or maybe not that many, but there's like 3 or 4 that they've done. They've had wrestlers and stuff on Scooby-Doo. So
I will say this. I didn't even know I didn't see it. Mickey Rourke got robbed. Why did you not get the Oscar for the wrestler? Like that was just so wrong. I'm like, come on, bro. Like, who else? Y'all just be hating on stuff.
Yeah.
Mickey Rourke used to be a boxer.
Yeah.
I
mean, I enjoyed that movie. It was tough. I mean, it was definitely tough, and it was supposed to be. I mean, there was nothing, whatever. But I mean, I thought it was good. I really enjoyed The Wrestler. I mean, it's not my favorite wrestling movie. I'd have to think about that for a minute. Try Ready to Rumble, even though there's, I don't know, David Arquette's not there. There's some other. Good.
The closest thing, but I love it so much. Spider-Man. Randy Savage, 3 minutes with Bone Crusher.
Sure, Bone Crusher, yeah. Yep, we talked about that earlier. We talked about that. We hit on Randy Savage being in Spider-Man. Any other appearances of wrestlers in movies that stand out to you? We talked about a few. I'm drawing a blank on most of them at the moment. Sam, you're trying
I
to remember
feel
some
like
of
we
them.
named almost all of them.
We did name a fair amount of them, yes. Any of them
So
that stood out for you or your
appearance.
favorite performances?
So even though Batista was great in mostly almost everything he does, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say this surprisingly, it shouldn't be a surprise, but it is a surprise. The Disney movie with The Rock, and the little girl. Oh, have mercy,
The
was
Tooth Fairy?
not the Tooth Fairy, not that
No,
one.
no. She's talking about Moana.
Oh,
No, the
Game
game.
Plan? No, Game
Oh,
Plan.
oh, the
Game
game plan
plan. That was really good.
where he played a football player.
Where he played a football player, but his daughter and basically he didn't know that he had a daughter. The mother passed away, and the daughter basically devised a plan to go find her father. And it was like
Right.
it was wonderfully like the movies where it's like you babysitting, but you don't want to watch a full on cartoon because who's doing that for 2 hours. And so this was actually like the perfect movie of okay, even though it's for a child, you're going to be entertained enough to sit through the whole movie. And I'm like, oh, that was really nice.
So now that you say that, it made me think of another movie. So I said my favorite Dwayne Johnson movie. Well, there's The Rundown, there's Moana. There's actually another movie that might be above them. Gridiron King.
I was just thinking, oh my god, Gridiron. Okay, yeah. I was just thinking that Gridiron Game was good. Like people was like, people talking about The Rock. Okay, yes, there is a format to his movies, but you will be entertained. And that one was, and then that was Exhibit, and trying to motivate the youth is always going to be a good story. Like unless you go too stereotypic with it. But no, I love that. Actually, I love the Gridiron Game as well. Like, you can tell when people love football, they're not going to half-ass it, basically, with lack of a better phrase, and they're actually going to try to get close to the story and the physicality of the property.
Honestly, I can't think of a bad football movie.
There's one else. There's
a bad football movie?
Yeah, like
there's
many of them. I like them all.
There's gotta be. I mean, I haven't seen enough of them, I'm sure, to know all of them. But
that might be a good take. I'm trying to think. The only one I could think of, but I love it though, is their replacements. But that wasn't bad. It really, I will watch that every Saturday. Honestly.
Like if that's the worst football movie, like another one, Varsity Blues.
Yeah.
Man, Invincible. Remember the Titans? Like, which one's a bad one?
I mean, I'd have to sit with the list and look. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I mean, it's all subjective. So I mean, some people don't like them as much as others. But I mean, yeah, no, I mean, there's none that are, but I can think of that are terrible. That are, for the most part, no. I mean, none off the top of my head that were like, oh my god, that was.
We definitely need to revisit the topic of wrestling and football.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. Yeah. I wouldn't mind that at all. And of course, The Longest Yard. That's probably the funniest.
Well, we talked about that quite a bit. Bob Sapp, the Great Khali, Bill Goldberg.
Oh my, Stone Cold. Why would you do
Stone
this?
Cold.
No, I love you, but you're being mean. Stop it now.
Stone Cold. He was in Grown Ups 2.
Yeah, but that
he was.
Let's not rehash that one.
The movie was good. That's grown up
It
to
was.
grown ups too was good.
It wasn't as good as the first one. It was too. It was too. Trying to be too many jokes in there. It was. The first one was better.
Well, I'm pretty sure that they only made the second one because the first one made so much money, and they were like, you know,
Like,
we can make
surprise,
a lot of
surprise.
money again just by doing a sequel. We probably can't do a third unless the second one's really good, but
Like, people
we can
still
at
love
least make
Adam
money here.
Sandler.
We're going to get Stone Cold. We're going to get Shaquille O'Neal. What other people we want to put in this movie? Let's get them.
That's the word. It was too goofy. At least the first one was just the right amount of nice, and this was like the second one was too goofy.
So I got some actors' names that I want to know if you think could have made the transition and been wrestlers. Now it doesn't matter how old they are. These are just it doesn't matter what age. Just at any point in time in their life. Could you have seen it Chuck Norris being a wrestler?
No, only because when it's off to the cat, like again, you're not actually beating up someone in the ring. You're telling a story in the ring, and so I don't think Chuck Norris. It'll be one karate kick. It's like, sir.
I mean, these guys were actors.
Nice
It's not like in Walker, Texas Ranger, he was really kicking people either, or in the movies he was in, he was really kicking people either. I mean,
yes, but
now,
also no. But
I mean, to be fair, he did some real life fighting outside of acting. So I mean, he was actually whatever, but like, and he was a karate dude. But like, obviously, acting is they're not hitting each other either. So I mean, what about the greatest villain of all? Go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I had something to say. What were we just talking about?
I asked you if oh my God, why am I drawing a blank on his name?
I'm drawing a
you
blank.
had a list of actors, and you said who could.
I know, but what was the name that I just said? And you talked about him.
Norris.
Chuck Norris. Okay. The problem with Chuck Norris is you have to lose sometimes. Chuck Norris, he never loses. He might have lost that one time to Bruce Lee, but that's up in contention.
And it's freaking Bruce Lee.
Like we don't really know who won that fight. I mean, but honestly, like Patrick Swayze probably would have been a good wrestler.
That's an awesome comment. Thank you, Fearfully Confident, for coming into the chat. Yes, he would have made a decent wrestler. He could have made a decent wrestler. Okay, so I got a couple other names for you. Hold on. Why was I drawing a blank on? What do you think? What do you think about like someone like a Bruce Lee?
Again,
I'm not talking about in the 70s, like when he was. I'm just talking about any time ever, like even whatever, like.
Again,
I don't know.
Someone in the ring, sir. This is
wrestling's about big men, big meaty men slapping meat, and like he's one of the greatest fighters.
Now,
but this isn't a fight.
Right.
He's a great showman, and like so the Green Hornet, where he's having the action scenes as Kato, and he's fighting like 5 dudes at the same time. Like, it's great. It's phenomenal. I don't know how that translates to wrestling.
Now, I will say this. If he had one match, I would love to see him versus Jay White. I'm so serious. Jay White has that Bruce Lee body where he's not muscular, but everything is defined. Where you can tell if he hits you, it's gonna hurt. It's not because how hard he hits you. It's because it's like effectively how he hits you. So I would have give me Bruce Lee versus Jay White, and I'd be fine.
See, and the match I would want, which I'm surprised you didn't ask for, would be him versus Shawn Michaels.
No, see, my baby's flashy. It like with Bruce Lee, it can't be
anything Bruce Lee's flashy too,
but not that in that way.
That creates a dichotomy, which is good for matches.
What about William Zabka, Johnny from the Karate Kid?
No.
No?
use him like a twig. They'll break him like a twig. No,
He's not a small dude.
but he is not a big dude either.
I
Wait, hold
I
up.
suppose in the mid 2000s, there was a time there where he could have in the mid 2000s.
You got to remember, whether you liked it or not, David Arquette was a champion, and they did do stuff with him. I mean, you don't have to be like. We're talking about just the ability to get in the ring, be athletic, and be able to pull off a storyline.
I want you to keep this same energy during the freaking Rey Mysterio match. That's all I'm gonna say.
Let's see. What about someone like a Jason Statham?
I was thinking about that. I was thinking about him talking about when he said Dolph Lundgren, and again, no,
I think Jason Statham is in the same boat as Bruce Lee is.
this is not a real fight. Stop hitting people in the face like this.
All right. What? And he's not a big guy either, but they present him as a bigger guy. What about like a Vin Diesel?
That would be hilarious. It would.
Dominic Toretto? Dominic Toretto?
I mean, Vin Diesel is 6 foot.
But we're so no.
He like Jason Statham's 5'10". Like
Right.
Like I just see him walking so slow in the ring and just walking in a circle around the ring. It's like, sir, what the? Can you please lock up? It's been 5 freaking minutes, and then like, it's like, you know what? Stop it. Nope, it's over. Tsunami him and just end this match now. End it now.
like
That's funny.
I'm trying to think. Possibly, he's got a personality and a voice for it. If you are going off of like him in his younger days, where he was like he did the toy commercials for kids, and he would always like have so much energy in doing that, and it's like that's the kind of energy that like you can bring to wrestling, and it would fit great. Like I'm thinking like 2000, 2001, basically the time that he was doing the first Fast and Furious movies. I think it could have worked, but not the best.
So I'll throw this out there because the kid in me just said it, and I'm like, 90s, and and the show was this big. Why the freak not? Give me a Power Ranger as a wrestler. I would have loved the white and gold Ranger go at it real quick with the high flyers. I would have loved this thing. Like that would have been so much fun.
That's funny.
It's morphin' time. Boink. Yes.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I never really watched. I was already kind of an adult, so like I never really watched Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. They were always little. I know they're extremely popular.
Yeah,
Extremely popular.
so I looked him up. Jason David Frank, like he sort of has that Hardy vibe to him.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is that the guy you showed the picture of earlier?
No. She's talking about the Power Ranger dude.
The white and gold one.
Yeah.
The white and gold one. Yeah, just skateboarding down the avenue, and then you give him a letter and say, "I accept." Yes, let's go.
Like he can do flips. Back in the 90s, he had that long hair. He definitely has a Hardy vibe to him. Like, unfortunately, I didn't realize he passed away 2 years ago.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. I remember, and it was crazy because SP3 was like watching Power Rangers. It was the first time we saw To Be Continued. Where it's like, what is To Be Continued? You mean the show is over? What are we doing? This is dumb. I'll be back next week, but what do you mean To Be Continued?
But I imagine he'd be very similar to a Jeff Hardy. And Jeff Hardy works, so I don't see why he wouldn't.
There's another name for you. Go ahead.
Yeah, especially Lara Valkyria being a freaking. I'm sorry, I still call her the Eagle Lady because the freaking movie. She has the feathers, and I'm like, just give her the freaking baton, and just let her just shoot the monsters away. Woo, woo, woo. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
That's okay. What about a Terry Crews?
Now he was a wrestler.
Well, he was.
People did not know before he was like.
Was he a wrestler or was he an extra on WCW?
I think he had a wrestling match. One moment.
He had a match?
I
I didn't realize he had a match. I knew he was.
I did not know.
I thought he was just a backstage extra sort of thing.
No. He was definitely in WCW as a wrestler.
Oh, and the movie Idiocracy that he did, where he played a professional wrestler that became president.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, the one with Adam Sandler. Yes.
No. That's not Adam Sandler. That's I think it's Luke Wilson.
Yeah, it is Luke Wilson.
Owen Wilson.
Yeah, it is Luke Wilson.
Okay. But no, he actually wrestled.
He would seem like one to me that would be a natural.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Personality, he's got the body, he's got the muscles. Like, I don't understand. Well, I don't know the full story because, like, it seems like he would have been a perfect fit back then. I don't know why it didn't work out.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I mean, he's had a pretty successful acting career, and like I said, I mean,
it became successful. He struggled for like half a decade.
Oh, sure, yeah, but I mean, he's had now a pretty successful acting career. So I mean, if you're given the choice between taking bumps or,
like
not taking bumps, right? Like
living in his car, and like once he did White Chicks, that was his big success story.
No. Friday After Next, and then White Chicks.
But White Chicks was his big success story of where like Hollywood started going for him.
It depends on who you ask, but the first breakout role, in my opinion, Friday After Next.
Yeah, well, that's what landed him the role in White Chicks.
That's what. So his start was Friday After Next.
All right. So we've touched on a lot of stuff. We touched on a bunch of stuff.
When do you become a billionaire? When the money comes in, or when you first place your investment? Like,
dude,
that's kind of how I feel about it. Like,
what?
Oh, okay.
So say that again.
Friday After Next was him placing the investment, but after White Chicks, that was the landfall of money coming in. Like, now he's getting all these deals. Now all these people want him in movies. Like, people want to talk to him. People want to meet with him. Like, one got him in the door, and the other one rolled out the red carpet.
Yes, and I mean, here's my only argument with that. I would argue that Friday After Next is probably more successful than White Chicks was.
You think?
Oh yeah, his exposure in Friday After Next has to be greater than it is in White Chicks. I mean, at least in my opinion, I feel like White Chicks is kind of a niche, whatever, If you I mean, maybe you say that maybe, but almost everybody I know has seen Friday After Next. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's the way I perceive them. So, what about you, Anika? What do you think?
I said what I said.
I said what I said. I said what I said.
Honestly, it's a 1-2 punch. Honestly, it's a 1-2 punch. It really is strike while the iron's hot, and he definitely did.
Quick Google search: over 3 times as many people went and watched White Chicks compared to Friday After Next.
Are you talking in the movie theater?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that might very well be true, but I mean, are we talking over the history of the movie though? I mean,
can you find statistics for that?
I have no idea. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
I just went to see how many tickets they sold.
Well, So I'm pretty sure Blockbuster was still here, and I say that because if they can find out that Airplane was the most bootleg movie. Well, not Airplane. No, Soul Plane was the most bootleg movie ever. They can find out how many people watched it after it left the movie theater. But like I said, it was a 1-2 combo hit. If he wants to, I believe he can do one match. It'd be great, and that's it.
Oh, he was great, and Everybody Hates Chris as well.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. As a dad, yep. Yeah. No, he's been great. I mean, he was great in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I mean, he's been great in a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, I'm a big Terry Crews fan. In fact, I haven't seen anything that he's been in that I haven't enjoyed him in. Where I thought, wow, he didn't do me like that was a disappointment. I mean, I've never thought that about him. So everything I've seen him in, I'm like, yeah, he killed it.
I mean, there's
He
one
hasn't always
movie
been in
who I
great
feel like most people
movies or
feel
great
that way
stuff,
about.
but
I mean, I enjoy the movie, but I understand most people probably wouldn't, and that's Norbit.
yeah.
All right.
I'm trying to remember. Was he in a Jim Carrey movie?
I'm gonna say no. Very rarely
we did.
very rarely you have a Adam Sandler Jim Carrey crossover person. Not saying it never happened, but it's very rare. So I'm
But
going to say no.
so The Expendables, Deadpool 2. He's been in a couple of Adam Sandler movies. Okay.
Like no, once Adam Sandler loves you, you got a role for life. You gonna get a check some way, one way or another.
Yep. All right, we've been talking about this. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I had honestly forgot he was in Deadpool 2, but he was. He's one of the people who jumped out of the plane
And died almost instantly. Not instantly, but almost instantly.
All right, we've been talking about this for a while. It's late on Anika's side, so let's see. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button on this video, hit the bell to be notified. It's the best way to make sure that you're here every time we drop content. I'll put the little horsey up, and you can scan the QR code, and that will take you to Linktree, which will take you to all of our social media and everywhere where you can interact with us. We are everywhere: Instagram, Twitch, or Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Everywhere that there's social media, we are there. Make sure and tune in every Sunday for Enter the Square Circle, where it's myself and Sammy Joe playing WWE 2K24, and perhaps maybe something else down the road. Sammy wants to do some other games, so we'll have to. You stay tuned for that too. Right now, we are in the middle of the Nap or Snap tournament. The winner gets a Money in the Bank style opportunity to challenge for whichever title he wants to challenge for. So make sure and tune in for that. That's 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on Sundays. Tuesday night, you're here with us now. Every Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m., 10:30 Pacific, or 7:30 Pacific, 10:30 Eastern for the Cookout, where we talk about all this cooking up in the world of professional wrestling, as Sammy Joe likes to put it. And tonight we talked about wrestling and the crossover between wrestling and movies and Hollywood and so on. So we're going to try to branch out and do some other stuff here periodically, but hopefully we'll be able to tie it into wrestling. On Friday nights, tune in for Anika and Sammy Joe watching SmackDown and Rampage Live, giving you their live opinions and reactions to the action as it happens and whatever else is on Friday nights wrestling related. Then Saturday morning, the three of us are back bright and early, 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern for the Winner's Circle. You can see Anika trumpeting her horn for the Winner's Circle. We review Raw, NXT, and Dynamite and pick our favorite show out of those three for the week and declare one a winner. And then we will be back, I believe, starting this Saturday. I know I said last Saturday, it just didn't work out because life be life. But this Saturday, we should be back for the Collision watch along, where myself and CM will be watching AEW Collision and giving you our live real time reactions and opinions to the show as we watch them live. So you can see we're here a lot. So make sure and join us for all the stuff that we do. Like I said, the best way to do that is to hit the bell to be notified. You'll get the notifications that we are going to go live or put something up. So unless anyone else has anything else to say, we will get out of here for tonight. Peace.